Welcome back to Being Authentic with Patrick and Mary. And such an amazing time. 18 days left till one of the biggest elections, I think, probably in history, at least since the last one. And you know this quite well with all the things that you're involved with, Patrick, with Tammy and Mark Pocan and LGBT rights.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Everything that we fight for every day. It's an honor to have this man in the studio taking the time out to be on the show with us today. You can find him weekdays on Madison's Progressive Talk, the Mike 92.1 and the Mike 92.1.com. Ed Schultz in the studio with us, and also weeknights on MSNBC, 7 o'clock our time, and WeGotEd.com. Ed Schultz, thank you so much for being on the show.
Good to be here, Mary. Patrick, good to see you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ed. I know you've been such a advocate and so involved with, politics in general, obviously, but in Wisconsin in particular. And what do you think about this? You've been doing this a long time, both sides of the aisle. You kind of are the man when it comes to Wisconsin politics and who we turn to, whether it's the radio or on TV. What are your feelings thus far with 18? Well, actually, no, I'm miscalculating. It's Saturday.
Well, one of the things, Mary, I'm really surprised is that the lack of impact that Paul Ryan has had on the ticket. And I'm anxious to see which way Wisconsin turns. President Obama seems to be polling consistently here in Wisconsin. And is it enough to overcome a favored son of the state? I think there's a lot of independent thinkers in the state. Mm-hmm. I think there's some strong Democrats, some strong progressives, and obviously there is a faction that follows the right wing of Congressman Ryan. So this is going to be interesting to watch to see how it all unfolds in Wisconsin. The issue of workers' rights, mm-hmm. the fundamentals of health care, the fundamentals of education, two totally different philosophies with both of these candidates, both of these parties that are fighting for the White House and control of the country. So Wisconsin, again, a hotbed. I mean, this state has just been an unbelievable hotbed for politics in the last 2 years, and I think it's going to be a really, really tough fight down the stretch in the presidential as well.
Well, that was one of the things I was curious about. The last 2 years have been organized chaos to some level.
Yeah, are the voters here burned out?
Yeah, well, what do you think it's going to be going forward? How important is Wisconsin going to be?
Well, I think it just even within the last week, Patrick, it's changed with all the issues of women's rights that have come up. In the last debate on Tuesday, when President Obama and Mitt Romney were going at it, Romney walked himself right into a minefield talking about binders of women. Yeah. I mean, the Obama camp couldn't script that any better. And then his flip-flopping and his inability to take a strong stand for women, equal pay for equal work. I mean, now look, if you're a conservative woman in Wisconsin, how can you side with that? Mm-hmm. This is going to be very interesting to see how the women vote in Wisconsin with all of this put on the table this late in the game. I mean, he put an exclamation point on where he stands with women, and I think that you can even connect it to his Mormon faith, which is a very controversial subject. So let's see where it all goes. But the mixture of the truth versus the undocumented money that is coming into the state, this unidentified money that's coming into the state, the perpetration of the lies that is in the electronic media that is purchased by the Karl Roves of the world with this unidentified money. It has changed America. It has changed Wisconsin. Let's see if the people can overcome it.
We mentioned, you had brought up, are people tired? Are people here getting, are they over it? No, they're not over it, because it's interesting enough. My sister, who's a conservative, it's funny because I don't think she even knows why. And I brought up all that stuff. I mean, what do you think about when the person you're supporting says these things? And I back it up with facts. And she's like, oh, I'm like, do you know they're going to appoint Supreme Court justices? He's actually said these things.
We had this conversation this morning coming in here to Madison. Do the women of this country understand the severity of a Romney-Ryan administration? Do they believe that Roe v. Wade will actually be under attack and there will be a massive push to overturn this by the Supreme Court? Do they get that?
Right.
And not to be condescending, but I think the information age and the talk culture is such that we just haven't reached that critical stage yet of understanding that this really could happen.
Exactly. I feel the exact same way. It's it's scary. It scares me. I've known Paul Ryan a very long time. Good old
I'll tell you-
Petey. Went to school with my sister and brother, and my brother was voted best athlete of that class. Paul Ryan was voted biggest brown noser, just to give you a little reflection of the class of '88.
Well, one of the things, so the last debate was focused on social issues. There had a lot of social issues in it, but LGBT rights didn't come up. How do you have any sense of how that's going to play into the election, or how?
Well, look, I mean, I think the president, don't ask, don't tell. He campaigned on it. He did something about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's been a long time coming. So obviously there are other rights in dealing with LGBT community, but I think the president has got a consistent stance with that community, and so far more than what Mitt Romney would ever do. I mean, it's not even close. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just like I know that the gay and lesbian community does not feel like they have been given, you know, maybe the proper respect on certain issues in the first 4 years of the Obama administration. Take a look at the unions.
Sure.
The unions were for the Employee Free Choice Act. Obama said, you're not going to get it. After they had worked so hard to get him to beat John McCain, he says, we're going health care first. You're going to have to sit down and wait on Employee Free Choice Act. We're not going down that road. And to this day, you can argue the fact that, well, you know, maybe if they had gone Employee Free Choice Act, we might have a better jobs number than we've got right now, that there'd be more organization of the workplace, that maybe President Obama wouldn't be as close to Mitt Romney as he is right now in the polls. So I think that the president inherited such a wide array of garbage from the Bush administration that he couldn't be all things to all people. But to deliver on Don't Ask, Don't Tell generationally was a promise and a pretty big lift.
Yeah, I can tell you in Wisconsin during the Capitol uprising, when the coalitions were starting to form, the LGBT advocacy organization, Fair Wisconsin, was one of the first in line to be part of that and actually led it to some level. So, and that was one of the interesting things for me, who does a lot of work in LGBT media, to see that when these coalitions were forming, you know, workers' rights were...
Yeah.
Gay rights. We really did become one, and you saw that in the signs and the people. And
Where do you think Wisconsin stands on Obamacare?
Oh, I think we're for it. I mean, maybe it's just because I'm so for it. I think there's a confusion. You know, even my parents ask me questions, and they don't understand. They get things from AARP, and they're like, "Well, we," you know. And I was like, "I talked to a guy from Canada, and he said it would be bad for us." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's, you know, you have to educate."
So if there was,
they're not getting the information. There's a lot of media that's owned by right-wing corporations and businesses, so they don't get all the necessary information they need to make a judgment.
So what about this? And I ask questions when I go on the road. You're a resource to me. Where do Wisconsinites, you think, stand on the $716 billion of Medicare that Paul Ryan and Romney have tried to say that Obama stole from Obamacare, to stole from Medicare to pay for Obamacare? I mean, I think that is a huge issue.
Yeah.
One of the things, and this is kind of the best, Tammy Baldwin says it best, is that Wisconsin's a very deeply and evenly divided state. And I think that on the left, I don't think anyone buys that. I do think that there's probably 8% that are the movable middle in the state. And right now, I know if you look at the way it's polling for Obama and for Tammy, I mean, the state's leaning towards Obama by maybe 5 percentage points at this, as of the last polling. And same thing with Tammy Baldwin. So I don't know if they're buying into it.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, and I think it helps having things like AARP say, educate yourself, and they're sending out these flyers. Because in Janesville, where Paul Ryan and myself come from, there's a generation, the older generation, that doesn't get all the facts. They don't get the information. And I think that's helping to see them, organizations that they trust and they're a part of, go, wait a minute, slow down. Don't believe everything they say on a certain news channel or you get from your local paper. You need to educate yourself, research this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm seeing them starting to question some of those things. And I think that helps.
Well, I'm looking for voter turnout in Wisconsin. I'm anxious to see if people are burned out, tired, whatever, if they still believe and everything else. I thought President Obama had a heck of a crowd here when he came to Madison just a few weeks ago. And so, and I think the final debate is going to be very important on Monday night, no question about it, on foreign policy. It'll be an opportunity for the president to weave in outsourcing because the economy is about foreign policy as well, how we're going to deal with foreign economies and whatnot. So I think it all plays. Foreign policy is not just about who we're going to invade and who's going to get nuked and how many nukes do we need and all that. I mean, it has a lot to do with the economy. So I think the president's going to have an opportunity to weave that in.
Do you think they'll be as combative? I know the first one.
Oh, yes, absolutely. These two candidates cannot stand one another. There is a lack of respect, and I think the president is going to be able to widen the boundaries a little bit when it comes to his longitude and latitude of being able to be, say, quote, presidential.
Right.
I mean, the base and the supporters of President Obama don't want him walked around on that stage like a dog.
Right.
And, and I think he's a fighter. He's a competitor. He hates to lose. He believes in what he's doing. And so I think it's going to be very spirited and very, very cerebral coming up.
Awesome. Ed Schultz from the Ed Schultz, MSNBC, and also weekdays right here on 92 The Mic, Madison's Progressive Talk. You can find him at wegoted.com, and he's always in and around Madison and making sure we're informed. Ed, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Patrick. Good luck to you. Appreciate it so much.
Thank you.